Welcome back to Across the Board. In today's video, I'm going to be covering an NHL trade that happened over the weekend that we did not get to in the podcast. Anything that we don't ever get to a podcast, we will post a video going over and talking about it. In today's case, we're going to talk about an NHL trade that happened over the weekend. A pretty big trade for sure. So a couple of them. So we're going to start with Edmonton and Pittsburgh. Edmonton dealt Stuart Skinner and prospect Samuel Poulin to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for Tristan Jarry, Brett Kulak, and a 2029 second-round pick. My thoughts, I think this was a great idea. I think this was a trade that I think was meant to happen, at least on the Stuart Skinner side for Edmonton. I think he was going to get dealt away. Obviously, a lot of thoughts were on him going to, a possibility of St. Louis, maybe a trade for Bennington, maybe, obviously possible destinations. But they go and trade and get Tristan Jarry and Brett Kulak on defense, which I think was a great pickup for them and a little great addition. And I think Tristan Jarry is a veteran guy who knows how to play hockey. I mean, he's a good goalie, a veteran guy, knows how to play. I think it was a good pickup for them. And I think, you look at a lot of people, sometimes they just need a new, place to play, and maybe just a new site to change their luck and their game. You look at Daniel Jones, the NFL, at New York, and then going to Indianapolis, and that changed. So maybe the same for Stuart Skinner. Overall, though, I think this was a trade that both teams benefited. I would also say that with that being said, these are two teams trying to go for a playoff spot. Pittsburgh had lost 6 straight, currently on a 6-game losing streak. Oilers have played great hockey and moved back into the 3rd spot in the Pacific Division. And interestingly enough, Stuart Skinner won 3 of his last 4 before getting traded. So I think that's something to kind of pay attention to, and then we'll see if he can carry that over to Pittsburgh. But that's that trade. And then another blockbuster that really was a big surprise, Quinn Hughes got dealt to Minnesota, and the Canucks received Marco Rossi, Zeev Boehm, Liam Ogren, and a 2026 first-round pick. I think both teams got absolutely treasure. I think Minnesota required a good defenseman in Quinn Hughes, and Canucks going to try and rebuild. I think they did what they needed to do. In my mind, they did. I think the trade benefits both teams. Obviously, we knew Canucks would be dealers. I think the biggest surprise was Quinn Hughes going to Minnesota. I think of the big destinations I had heard were New Jersey, possibly Detroit, from people, but Minnesota, another destination, a team who's been playing well and going to compete in the Central Division. That's really good with Colorado and Dallas. And then, of course, the Canucks rebuilding. I think they've picked up Marco Rossi, a good guy, good piece, and they'll get a good draft pick next year in 2026. But overall, I think this was a great trade that benefits both teams. So overall for these trades, I mean, I would say all 4 of these teams benefited in a good way. And I think I'm very interested to see how these trades play out for these teams. So that's the NHL trade news of the weekend. Thank you all for watching. Check in for our podcast tomorrow night. We'll be talking about NFL news, transfer portal, and all the good stuff you want to hear. So we thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all tomorrow night.